Welcome back to the 80s at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Sarah Van Tyne is with us. She's the Vice President of Sales at Quantum5, and she has assembled an A-list panel on leadership development skills. Sarah, welcome back to the roundtable.
Thank you so much, Ted. This is so exciting to get to pick the brains of these amazing leaders in automotive.
You've got great leaders, a lot of great organizations represented. Sarah, everybody here is new to the roundtable, so that's going to call for an introduction so everyone can let us know who they are. I know you got a great panel ahead, so I'm going to get out of the way, and I'll see you at the end.
Thank you, Ted. Everyone, if you'll just take a couple moments to introduce yourself to the Fixed Ops Roundtable, and then we'll get kicked off with our questions. Tony, do you want to kick us off?
I can start. My name is Tony Klarakis. I am the Director of E-commerce and Business Development here at Dan Cummins Auto Group, located in Paris and Georgetown, Kentucky.
I'm Allie Peters. I'm the Fixed Operations Director at Jaguar Land Rover San Antonio with the Cavender Auto Group.
I'm Daniel Gover. I'm the General Manager at Mercedes-Benz of Easton, part of the Germain Auto Group.
Well, thank you everyone for being here today. So this is a topic that's been really exciting for me to explore, and we have some great questions lined up for these amazing leaders. So to kick us off, I first want to just float this first subject, because this is something that happens in a lot of organizations, and it's something that leaders talk about quite a bit when this happens. And I'd love to get some insights from these leaders to see what they do in their stores when this happens. So, I'll kick it off to Daniel first. We've seen the situation that happens when a person that was a sales rock star or service advisor rock star gets promoted, and now they're taking on this management position, and then they proceed to unfortunately underperform in their new role. In your experience, what are some of the strategies that you utilize in your stores to help them become a better leader in their new role and prevent that from happening?
Yeah, three. I mean, that's absolutely a top of mind question all the time. Yeah, and it's not even, if you kind of back up for a second, it's not even about if I just take someone who's good at this particular thing that are already internal and make them a manager. It's a question that applies to everything when you're hiring, right? So what we normally see in hiring is that we're looking at traits, right? And so one trait that you excel at does not anytime ever mean that you're particularly good at an associated trait or at another trait. But when we're looking at an internal candidate, because most of us really want to be able to promote from within, then we take a look at we have firsthand experience. Part of the thing that any good hiring manager would know is that you're forming a type of bias. That doesn't mean biases are something that we all have, but you have to understand that when you have personal familiarity with someone and you see how you get along with them, that's a like me bias. You see how they operate, there's a familiarity bias to that. So you're bypassing a lot of the normal other checks and balances that you might have in place for evaluating that person's talent for it. But more so than not, in this case, it's not just talent that you need to evaluate, it's motive. Because really what the difference is you need someone to understand the difference between achievement and influence. And those are two primary factors, one as a salesperson and the other as a manager, and they differ in how they look. But those are both the reward systems that you have, right? So as a salesperson, your reward system is those things that you achieve. And as a manager, typically it's how good your influence is and to influence the behaviors that you'd want to see. So if you're used to being reward, if the sense of reward and accomplishment, how do I know if I'm doing a good job, comes to you from the sense of achievement of selling things, it's a single person sport, then that's how you're used to getting that feedback. And some people are very comfortable with that. But the difference is we need to be able to explain to them, put into words, I actually need you to succeed at influencing a diverse group of individuals to think and operate in the same way and help them understand the why. And even if they don't realize the why, it's you are setting the example for that. And so first thing is we've looked at motive, basically that. And we've also found it's what your people see you do is what they feel like in their frame of mind you do. So they may not see all of the things that your management staff is required to do. So we show exactly what the KPIs are for managers. We show these are their daily tasks that you may not see them doing. And we encourage them then also to shadow for a day. And so we be completely transparent and show you all the things. These are things that we discuss. And if I could, I mean, I'm not paid sponsor by any means, but we do utilize our training subscription with NCM. And we found it to be incredibly beneficial to send people as they're moving up in your ranks, send them to Used Car Management 1. Send them to GSM 1. It's the first base layer course. And you understand, of course, just because you're going to this does not mean you're coming back as a used car manager, but I want you to have those same, I want you to understand the things that are important to us and those principles. Inevitably, they go to Kansas City for, 2 to 4 days, depending on which classes they're doing. And they come back, and I didn't realize that's what being a manager was about. So those are the things that have been most successful for us.
Well, thank you, Daniel. There was a ton of information in there, to unpack for sure, and some great advice in terms of how dealerships can really navigate this. And Tony, I know when we were talking about some of these topics before the session, this was a question that really resonated with you as well. And so I want to pose it to you, as you think about some of the things that happen in a store with your BDC or your salespeople, how do you prevent some of those incidents from happening where you have a newly promoted leader in your organization? How do you help support them to take on this new role?
Yeah, and Daniel touched on a lot of great points there. And, one thing that you can take away from that is engaging in that honest and open communication with those people. A lot of the times what happens is and I hear this all the time, is someone gets promoted, they are given, the things that they have to do, but they aren't engaged with, and they aren't helped and trained the right way through to be able to accomplish a job that they're being given to do. So for us as leaders, being able to speak to that person honestly and say, is there anything that you need from me? Is there anything that I can do better to support you? And giving that person also a roadmap down the road that we as leaders see as the end result or the end goal, whether it's, a certain sales number, or in fixed ops, a certain amount of ROs we want to do for the month. It's, making sure that the person sees that vision and understands what we are also doing as leaders to bring them to that goal. We always talk about making sure that the salespeople are, engaged with the sales managers, the general managers, the fixed ops directors, myself as a director. We have to engage with our managers to keep the sales team engaged as a whole as well.
Wow, thank you, Tony. That was some great information too, and that really expanded on some of the points that Daniel brought up in his response. Allie, I want to ask you a totally different question, because this is something I think you have a lot of experience with in your organization too. What do you consider to be some of the best daily habits for a leader to do with their team?
So I love that one. I think that the thought that resonated with me, being a team member and then transitioning into a leadership role, was when I felt known by my manager as a person. And so as far as a daily task, I think this is one that people sometimes forget. Talking to your people as real people, getting to know them and understanding what's going on in their life outside of the car that they sold or the RO that they wrote. And as far as, we all have daily tasks. We have to update reports, and we have to send out emails and look at numbers from the day before. And I think that those are all important. But as far as it goes in leadership development, it's getting to know your people and them getting to know you. And I sincerely believe that when you have that relationship with your team and you make it a point to make that happen, the team works together more cohesively to accomplish the goals that we have set.
Now, that's a great point, Allie. And having those kind of relationships is so important, because you can't have that professional success without understanding what is going on in the individual person's life on a daily basis. Daniel, I want to ask you the same question too. So, as you consider the daily habits that you as a leader do with your team, what are some of the best daily habits that you would consider recommending people do in their leadership positions?
When it comes to development in general, I think, and really what everyone here is really exemplified, is you've got to have some type of laying the groundwork. There has to be some type of preparation, and internal, external, it all goes together to form some type of picture, right? But there's got to be, if you want someone to get to the next level, you have to lay the groundwork for them to do it. So we no longer, this isn't not breaking any news here. We no longer have the luxury of trial and error when it comes to our human resources in the automotive industry. and I think everybody innately knows that, but it's like, we need to enact that. I'm sure every single person on this call benefited from the well-known training system of sink or swim. And we happen to be the ones that swam, right? But we know that even when we were doing it, we knew that wasn't the right way to do it. And so we know that we just don't have that luxury. We don't have the sink or swim luxury or the trial and error luxury. So every day is a good opportunity for you to look at all aspects of who your human resources are, right? And understand. We did this in a quarterly meeting. Actually, we pulled our year-end expenses and showed, so it's unmistakable that other than, construction projects, people were our greatest, most valuable asset in the dealership by dollars, by time, by everything, right? So if I showed you something on your balance statement that had that many commas in it, like, you should be paying attention to it. And especially when you look at it like you want it to grow exponentially. Like, I don't just want those commas, I want more. And so then those are the people that are going to bring it to you. So the thing that we look at every day is, what can I do that would be new for somebody today or this week? What can I do that would that this person next week could look back and say, this was one thing I moved up in. This was one thing I understood that I didn't understand before. And I would just probably also end with saying that we've never been particularly good in the industry about explaining the why. And it's the single most important thing that they can understand for their day to day is the why. So if you just zoom out a minute and, from what your daily tasks are as a salesperson or as a service advisor, I need you to zoom out for a minute and understand the why we do this. What's the bigger sense of it? And then this is very much towards what Ali said too, is you have to know that I trust you. I work with managers that I trust. I work with people that I trust. And if like it completely slips your mind and there's nothing else you did that day, find someone that you could look at and say, you know what, I want you to know, like, I trust you, right? So do as you see fit in what you're doing, right? And just know that you have my trust. And that's probably one of the best things, if you did nothing else today, that you could do to somebody on your team that would propel them forward.
So Tony, as we're leaders on this panel and as we're talking about some of these things that we're seeing in the dealership, I think the customer experience, of course, comes top of mind for all of us as we consider what's going on and what the expectations are for our customers. And what would you say are going to be the most critical skills that leaders in automotive will need as customer expectations and needs continue to change?
So what leaders need to do is they need to look at their communication funnels from top to bottom. And that's from the moment a customer decides to start shopping, and that's, in search marketing, all the way to when they complete a vehicle purchase, along with all the communication that goes out after fixed operations, right? With us being so reliant on the consumer choosing us, we need to make sure that us and the way our dealers perceived is positive in the industry and in the segment, right? Automotive dealers haven't always been looked at as the fun place to go to, right? And we have to attract that buyer. And with brand loyalty continuing to decrease, we need to make sure that we pivot our messaging and what we want to be conveyed onto the customer in a positive light. So being able to coach our team what to say, from the BDC to the sales teams to the service teams and everyone in between. It's very, very vital for us to continue to change with what we're seeing in the marketplace. And with improvements and introduction of processes surrounding digital retailing and delivery services, cross country, that I know some dealerships will ship cars anywhere for very little to no money out of pocket. And even third parties offering market extension products, that increase your advertising map from 50 miles around a dealership to 300, right? It's making it easier for the dealer's message to get out there. But what is that message, right? What are we trying to tell consumers? What is different about our dealership or anyone's dealership and why they should choose them? So as consumers are able to find cars easier and make a more decisive decision on what they want to buy and finding that inventory or whatever it might be easier, we need to make sure that the messaging correlates and resonates with that person.
You're so right, Tony, because I mean, really one skill, you summarize there is that blend of the customer experience with your brand experience and the employee experience. All three of those pieces are so important to customer retention, and managers have to have those skills in order to really be effective in their individual marketplaces. Allie, I want to ask you the same question too. So, you know, as you think about this and you think about the skills that leaders in automotive are going to need to have as customer expectations change, what do you think are going to be the most critical skills for people to have in leadership?
So I think that a sincere care about people is going to be at the core of who we have to be as leaders, and the people that we surround ourselves with on our team that are going to be responsible for taking care of those customers. Because very similar to what Tony said, the market has changed so much, and that customer experience is now a very different from start to finish experience than it used to be. And customers have the choice, and we want to be the place that they choose to do business with because of the way that we make them feel and the way that we take care of them and the way we walk through them or walk with them through the process from start to finish. Oftentimes on our side of the world in fixed ops, it's not a fun experience. Even for the regular scheduled oil change that everyone knows is coming, it's like going to the dentist for a cleaning. It might not hurt. It might not be that expensive, and you planned to be there, but you still have to arrange your schedule, change up your routine, and you have to have a pattern disrupt in your day. And so that's the easy stuff in fixed ops. The others are not as easy and fun and as, manageable, so to speak. And so I believe that people who care about the customers and truly want to be there with them while they're going through something uncomfortable will be able to provide that consumer experience that we're talking about.
No, that's so great, Allie. And I really agree with you on all of those pieces. It has to be something memorable. It has to be something that involves the customer. And you're right. You know, that's something like a service visit that isn't necessarily the most exciting thing for them to be doing in their day. So how do we make sure that we meet their expectation? How do we equip our leaders with those skills? And, you know, just to pivot a little bit, we've talked a lot about current leaders. We've talked about people in the organizations today, but there's probably a lot of people listening to this that want the opportunity to become a leader in their organization, and they want to continue to improve their career. They want to continue to grow with their families. They want to keep going in automotive and have that leadership opportunity. And so this is often something that I get asked, which is, you know, Daniel, I want to field this to you first. If you had one piece of advice for people that are looking to become a leader in their organization, what would you say is the top piece of advice that you could give them?
Well, I don't know if this would necessarily be the top piece of advice first, but I will say that if you're at an organization and you do want, because what we're talking about is discretionary effort, right? We want people that will want to give us discretionary effort, meaning above that, which is normally expected for them even to do a great job. If you're in an organization where the path to your growth is not clear to you or has never been talked about with you, or in general in the organization that you're in, if there's not a way for you to understand first on your own what growth is and what it looks like and what it takes to get there, what we're seeing a lot of is people moving to us because we have that, and their organization they were from did not. So the first thing I would say probably as advice is to the organizations themselves, don't lose people because you didn't show them a way to go. And if you're looking and saying like, I would really like to be a manager in my organization, you know, for us, we want to make those things pretty clear, because we don't want to have the conversation about like, what's it take for me to be a manager, right? Or someone who, you know, is in a field in part of the dealership where another manager isn't necessary, but they come to you and say, I want to be a manager. And it's like, what are you hoping to achieve from that? No. So let me first tell you what the organization is looking for. And then clarity should be, you and I can discuss that and make sure that everything is, you gain clarity to that. And so maybe the first piece of advice is if a growth plan, if any type of growth and learning forward isn't something that you know anything about in your organization, not because you haven't tried, but because it's just simply not available. Yeah, I hate to be that guy, but that just might not be the place for you to grow.
Now, that's such a spot on point, because you're so right. It's something that you have to have a roadmap. You have to be able to see what it takes to get to that next step. And if you don't have a growth plan and you don't have that outlined in your organization, then you are going to lose out on those individuals that are looking for that next piece in the puzzle and for themselves to level up or continue to grow in what they do. And I want to ask Tony and Allie the same question too. So Tony, I'll field it to you first, but same question that I just asked Daniel. If you had one piece of advice for people looking to become a leader, a future leader in their organization, what would it be?
It would be to be the leader that inspired you, right? We've all had a mentor or someone that we learned from or looked up to and thought, wow, they're the reason we are progressing or that company's progressing, and it doesn't even have to be someone in your dealer group or even in the industry. It can be anyone that you looked up to and thought that person is an amazing leader. And we all subconsciously look at someone and try to mimic their good qualities and, take the good. And that's what I encourage other people that are trying to become leaders or trying to become managers do, right? Take the good, learn from the bad, and just continue to cultivate your own way of doing things, right? And don't be afraid to fail. Right? Success is never a straight line. If it was, there'd be a lot less success stories out there because it'd be common and easy to do. So, just learn to be yourself and learn to be that good leader from whoever you learned it from.
That's such a great point, Tony, because you're right. There's so many different people that have influenced us to be the kind of leader that we are today. And those mentors are so important to our development and how we approach leadership. And so, Allie, take us home with this same thought and same question. Your piece of advice for people looking to become a leader in their organization, what would be your top piece of advice for them?
So I would say do the job before it's yours. And when I say that, I mean, be the person who, if you're in an advisor role or a sales associate role, do everything that you possibly can to prevent that customer or that situation needing to tag in a manager. Show your manager that you are capable and you are able and you're willing and you want to do that. And frankly, that you don't want them to be involved because you can do it so well. And I think that that is something that can continue through the thread of a career as different people step into different roles. But I think that when you are capable of helping someone else, because ultimately that is our job as a leader in an organization, I think you step up and you do that. And it becomes extremely obvious to those around that if you're consistent with it and you're actually effective at it, people know that you're the person that you can go to for help before you have to get your manager involved. And then it's a no-brainer when that opportunity comes around because you've already earned the credibility that that leader needs in the next role.
Yeah, that's a great piece of advice, Allie. And thank you so much for sharing your perspective on that. I have one last question to really bring us all home. So this is our lightning round. I have one question I'm going to ask all three of our panelists today. And this is 20, 30-second answer. I know this is a tough question to compile in that little narrow window, but there's a lot of different areas of focus that dealerships are talking about this year. There's a lot of opportunity in sales and BDC and fixed operations. So I'm going to go around starting at the top. Tony, I'll kick it to you first. But what would you say, lightning round question, what is the biggest opportunity for dealership leadership to focus on this year?
I think I alluded to it earlier, and that's understanding what your dealership looks like to your immediate community and the far-reaching community and potential customers, right? What do your reviews look like? What does your website look like? The communication coming from your staff, your purchase process, your servicing process. What does that all look like to that consumer to hopefully win them so they become your customer?
Perfect. Allie, same question. What is the biggest opportunity for dealership leadership to focus on this year?
Training. So I sincerely believe that as the world continues to change, that we need to make sure that the team that we have in place has all the tools and resources that they need to be effective, because now it's more about the quality of the work that we're doing versus the quantity, which we have seen in the past. And so I think training, I think interpersonal skills, I think salesmanship, communication, the technical training that goes along with the product that we work with. So training all the way around.
Daniel, what is the biggest opportunity for dealership leadership to focus on this year?
The biggest opportunity is that there is so much opportunity. You can choose to do things differently. You should be naturally curious. You have the opportunity to redefine. We know nothing is the same and nothing's ever going to be the same. I mean, if that, you know, really after this 3 years, we know that. So be curious, look at roles, see if they can be redefined. They can be. Schedules can be redefined. What you utilize your time with can be redefined. It's an opportunity to be naturally curious and make changes that you've always thought about. And if not, at least start thinking about them.
Well, Ted, we're at time. We're at the end of our panel. What'd you think?
Sarah, what a great panel. What great talent here. Tony, Allie, and Daniel. Magnificent. I took a lot of notes, Sarah. Okay. You got 3 great leaders here. Great material, great content. I tell you this, Sarah, I want to invite everybody back because we didn't have anywhere near enough time today. So this is a fantastic
there's so much.
Yeah. And Sarah, great topic also, leadership, right? So
also, I feel like I was the only one that read the 80s assignment correctly. So I feel, I mean, the background, okay. I mean, you know, that's computer provided.
I want to thank the panel. Great material, leadership development, Tony, Allie, and Daniel, and of course, Sarah Van Tine from Quantum5. Sarah, if our leaders watching today want to reach out for more information to you at Quantum5, what's the best way to do that?
Yes, the best way to reach out on the ticker below is my personal contact information. You can email me at sarah@quantum5.ai or call the phone number on the screen as well, 480-908-5003, or check out our website, quantum5.ai.
Great. Quantum5 is a leader, everybody. Thank you so much, everybody. The Leadership Development Panel here back at the 80s at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.